right, so we're here at the Berner, Costa Mesa, Our Revolution, the endorsement party. I'm sitting here, or standing here, I should say, with a gentleman who's been a paramedic for many years. He actually has a training class right now for paramedics, and he is running for a very, very important position, Secretary of State. I'm here with Ruben Major. How are you doing today, Ruben?
Oh, good. I'm doing great. It's been a really good event.
It has. And I mean, it was a great introduction. Whoever gave it to you, that was great, getting you up on stage.
That would have been you.
Yeah, that would have been me. But I was so excited for you to come up because the position of Secretary of State means so much. We talk about all these issues. We talk about all these situations that arouse, but nothing can get done without election integrity. How do we get back to good, real election integrity?
Well, the first thing we got to do is we got to take public ownership of our election systems. I've been talking about this a lot. We got these big companies in there. They're making a lot of money. They're not doing a great job. Again, vulnerable systems and non-disclosure agreements. I mean, come on. Yeah. Why are we signing a non-disclosure agreement for our own election systems? I think we could do a lot better. So I think that's the first thing. And I think, again, like I said, get that big corporate money out. And that's why I'm not taking any corporate donations.
What do we do on day one? Mr. Ruben Major is elected Secretary of State. Day one, what do you walk in and do?
We decertify machines that are vulnerable to hacking. Very simple.
Just like that?
Just like that.
Boom.
Instantly.
Okay.
And you can. And it's been done before. When Secretary Bowen was in charge of the election systems, that's what she did. Okay. She went and did this big study of all the voting machines and all the software and everything, found all these different problems. These issues are sitting right on the Secretary of State's website right now.
Yeah.
And we know about them.
Okay.
And now they're getting approved under an exception to the rule loophole. So what we've got to do is close that loophole up and make it so that we're not certifying these machines, and the counties are going to have to go back to doing something different. What we're going to push for is publicly owned software if we're using it in anything. Okay, so there's many different aspects of the elections. It's not just vote counting, but it's also, making sure that our voter registration systems are secure, making sure that, any vote tabulation, poll books that are used, so on and so forth. And then also really advocating for the 100% paper ballot audits on election day at the precinct.
Okay.
We would like to see that because we need that count to make sure that anything that we're running, if we're running anything through software, that it's running properly. Mm-hmm. And open source is key because if you use like a closed source, which is private company ownership, you've got like tons and tons of code in there.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to verify the integrity of it.
Okay.
And these are systems, like I said, that some foreign companies actually are giving us.
Foreign companies are running our elections.
Unfortunately, yes, that's the truth. I mean, you can look it up yourself. Don't even take my word for it. Do a little bit of investigation and find out. I couldn't believe it. It blew my mind.
Okay, well, let me ask you a question. You're an election expert. 2016. California. Now, I did the numbers myself, and I'm not an analyst, and I'm not running for Secretary of State. However, I know this much. I don't know how there was an equal amount of votes in 2016 as there were in 2008 with Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton versus Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders when they had close to 700,000 new registers within the last 2 months. How is that possible?
Well, I mean, I think, if you're comparing 2008 to 2016, you do have some population increases, so that could be part of it. But I think if you're talking about energy and, people were really energized with the, Trump effect. They didn't want to see him, get elected in California. So I think that might have something to do with it. But are you implying something else?
Well, I was implying that I heard there was a lot of provisional ballots that not necessarily got counted. Do you have any information on that?
All right, yeah. So in the 2016 election, if you were...
The primary.
Yeah, in the primary. Yeah. If you were a no-party preference voter here in California, they devised a system. The Secretary of State that's sitting in there right now devised a system.
Mr. Padilla, right?
That's correct. That basically said that you had to ask for a Democratic crossover ballot in order to be able to vote for any Democratic candidates. And so a lot of people, they'd get their ballot at home and they saw this ballot and they're like, oh, well, I don't know if I want to vote for that. These people, who are they?
Yeah.
And so some of them didn't even show up to the polls. There's a ballot surrender rule here in California. That means you actually have to take your ballot in to the polling station to get a new one.
Okay.
Some people didn't do that. They showed up at the polling location without a ballot. And they said, well, all right, we'll let you do this provisional ballot. Was the provisional ballot counted in that case? Absolutely not.
Okay.
And when Padilla was asked these questions, he said, oh, well, that's the law. That's the way it is. It's not, actually. What we can do is we can make it so that if you're eligible to vote for a candidate, they actually show up on your ballot.
Okay.
That should be the way that this law is administered. It was purposefully done this way so that, for whatever reason.
Well, who did he endorse in 2016?
Well, he was out there campaigning for another candidate.
Not named Bernie Sanders.
in Nevada.
Okay.
And I think if you're Secretary of State, you shouldn't be endorsing anybody.
Absolutely not.
So that's why I'm not endorsing anybody at all.
Okay.
I think this is a position which basically needs to have some integrity all the way across the board. And how is it not a conflict of interest? I mean, we put a question up on our Facebook and our social media just a couple of days ago about this. Should the person that's in charge of our elections in the state of California be permitted to have a horse in the race?
Yeah.
And I think I don't know.
I think the answer is no, but yet there was one. Well, let me ask you, this has been a very long process. I know a lot of you guys are tired. You've been campaigning for so long. What was the biggest shining moment of Ruben Major's campaign? What really stuck out to say, wow, that's just awesome today?
Being here with you today.
Oh, stop it. Ruben Major, running for Secretary of State, our revolution endorsed. Hey, good luck June 5th, my man. Bring the pulse back to American integrity when it comes to elections, especially in California. Ruben Major, everybody.